for the hastening of the reappearance of our 12th Imam, Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Umma Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraj wa natam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والتم التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مختمه الفداء. أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في محكم كتابه العزيز بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد نادانا نوح فلنعم المجيبون صلى الله على محمد وعلى محمد. First of all, I would like to request the mu'mineen, those of you who have a Quran application, especially with the translation in English, to open up Surah As-Saffat. In Surah As-Saffat, we have the stories of a few prophets mentioned in a certain chronological order. So the first story among these prophets is the story of Nabi Nuh salamullahi alayhi. I will read out some of the verses related to these prophets, and then I would like to ask you a question in regards to that. So please be attentive. With regards to Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, the verses start from number 75. Okay? The verse that I recited, it is translated, and Nuh called out to us, and we are the best of responders. And then it mentions the story of Nabi Nuh salamullahi alayhi. At the end of his story, there's two verses that I'll mention, and these will continue with us. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. And we left mention of him among those who succeeded, those who came after him. سَلَامٌ عَلَى نُوحٍ فِي الْعَالَمِينَ. After him comes the story of Nabi Ibrahim salamullahi alayhi. وَإِنَّ مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ لَإِبْرَاهِيمَ. After that, the story إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَاذَا تَعْبُدُونَ. And among his Shi'as and his followers of Nuh was Ibrahim salamullahi alayhi. And when he told his father and his people, what do you worship? After the argument broke up between them, قالوا ابنوا له بنيانا, and you make and build a big fire, a pyre for him. فألقوه في الجحيم, and throw him in the furnace. The story continues. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ سَلَامٌ عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. This is the second story. Chronological order, according to some of our ulama of history, especially those who research the stories of the prophets, they say, those who deal with religious anthropology, they say that the story of Nuh alayhi salam, this flood must have happened approximately 8,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago. Nabi Ibrahim salamullahi alayhi, he lived approximately 1,600, 1,500 BC. So that is approximately 3,500 years ago. After that, we come to the stories of Nabi Musa and Harun salamullahi alayhi. وَلَقَدْ مَنَنَّا عَلَى مُوسَى وَهَارُونَ. And we favored Musa and Harun. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُمَا وَقَوْمَهُمَا مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ. And we saved them and we delivered their people from a great distress. Their story continues. Salamun ala Musa wa Harun. After that, Musa and Harun alayhi salam, those ones who were asking, they were approximately 1,350 BC. وَإِنَّ إِلْيَاسَ لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِذْ قَالَ لِقَوْمِهِ أَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. And Ilyas, Elijah as he is on the Bible, he was surely amongst the messengers. When he said to his people, do you not fear? Do you worship Baal, a god that they used to worship? And you're leaving the best of creators, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After his story, وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ إِلَى آخِرِينَ. After that comes the story of two other prophets. Now, just to tell you, and Nabi Ilyas alayhi salam, according to researchers, it is said that he lived approximately 9 BC. Now we come back to Lut alayhi salam, who was a contemporary of Nabi Ibrahim salamullahi alayhi. How does his story start? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in verse 133. وَإِنَّ لُوطًا لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِذْ نَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ أَجْمَعِينَ. And Lut was really amongst the messengers, and we saved him and his family, all of them, إِلَّا عَجُوزًا فِي الْغَابِرِينَ, except an old woman. ثُمَّ دَمَّرْنَا الْآخِرِينَ. And then we destroyed everybody else. وَإِنَّكُمْ لَتُمُرُونَ عَلَيْهِمْ مُصْبِحِينَ. And you surely pass by them during dawn time. وَبِاللَّيْلِ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. And at night time, do you not take heed? After that, وَإِنَّ يُونُسَ لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِذْ أَبَقَ إِلَى الْفُلْكِ الْمَشْحُونَ. And surely Yunus as well, he is also, Jonah, he is also amongst the messengers. When he ran to the ship, the laden ship, yani the one that was that was pierced, that had a hole in it and was starting to sink. فَسَاهَمَ فَكَانَ مِنَ الْمُدْحَضِينَ. So he drew lots and he lost the drawing of the lots. فَالْتَقَمَهُ الْحُوتُ وَهُوَ مُلِيمٌ. And so the whale swallowed him and he was blameworthy. Question: what is the difference? Did you notice right now in the stories of these prophets that I mentioned? Did you find any difference in any of the prophets? Anybody? If you notice, starting from Nuh alayhi salam to Nabi Ibrahim, to Musa and Harun, and to Ilyas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Correct? And we left a mention of him and those who succeeded him. سَلَامٌ عَلَى فُلَانٍ سَلَامٌ عَلى نُوحٍ فِي الْعَالَمِينَ. Nuh's remembrance and his name, it continued throughout all the nations. The other prophets may be their own nations, but Nuh had a special position. Then what about Lut and Nabi Yunus salamullah alayhi? We did not find وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ سَلَامٌ عَلَى فُلَانٍ فُلَانٍ. We don't find that. Anybody like to give a guess why? Time. Ahsantum. It is related partially to that. Ahsantum. That is a part of the answer. You see, when we look at Nuh salamullah alayhi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Nuh. Correct? He saved Nuh and his progeny. Who remembered Nuh? Who spread the mention of Nuh after him? Who populated the earth after Nuh? His children. Correct? Upon that, the remembrance of Nuh remained. Secondly, if we look at the context of surah of the story of Nabi Nuh salamullahi alayhi and the other prophets, we come to find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about them, He talks about their da'wah, yani their message to the people, and what difficulties they bore with their people. Correct? So this was a kind of good mention of them. So if we were to take the context of Surah As-Saffat just by itself, keep one thing in mind. The Holy Quran mentions certain stories more than once. In certain surahs, you will find that there are more details. In certain surahs, it's more abridged, it's more summarized. Now this is due to a wisdom. Why? Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the story of a particular prophet or any story in history that has lessons in it, He mentions it according to what is needed for that context. Rahmakumullah. So whatever comes before and after it, it is related to that context. He won't mention more. He won't mention the entire story with all of the smallest of details. Correct? If we look at the stories of the prophets now, continue. Nabi Ibrahim salamullahi alayhi, when he came, he started his challenges in Babylon with his uncle. After that, with the people, he was thrown in the fire. He left Babylon. According to certain narrations, he went to Egypt first. After that, he went to Jerusalem and then to Al-Khalil, Galilee as it's called today. Then he settled part of his family in Mecca. coming and going forth, etc., and all of the bala'at. After all of this, this was a mention, a good mention about how Ibrahim salamullah alayhi strived through these different tests. So he deserved a good mention. Correct? Musa and Harun salamullah alayhi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions that he delivered their people from a great distress and he gave them an illuminating scripture. He sent them to Fir'aun, etc. Ilyas salamullah alayhi, I'll mention some details that maybe not all are aware of. This is related to religious anthropology. Nabi Ilyas alayhi salam, as I mentioned, he was sent to the people of Canaan, the Canaanites, and according to what seems more correct is that he was sent around the area of Baalbek, that is eastern Lebanon today. And he was sent to the city of Heliopolis that is called Baalbek today. Okay, this was approximately during the 9th century. They used to worship a god by the name of Baal. The funny story is that the worship of this god, their god of fertility and harvest, etc., and god of wine. So they used to have an annual feast and they used to practice immoral things during this feast. This god, he was worshipped in Canaan, in that area, in that Levant area, during the 9th century, even maybe according to certain accounts during the 15th century, starting from the 15th century. He was worshipped by the Phoenicians and then by the Canaanites. After that, this practice it came and went to the Egyptians. From the Egyptians, it moved to the Mediterranean. Look at this funny story. After that, it went to the Romans. The Romans, when they took over Palestine in approximately 15 BC, they also took his worship. So they built a humongous temple for him, the temple of Bacchus. They named him Bacchus. Those of the kids who've watched Adventures of Hercules, maybe they've heard of this name. So, the cartoon series. So, in Lebanon today, one of the biggest heritage sites in UNESCO is the Temple of Bacchus. It is still the icon figure of Baalbek today. So, over there, Nabi Ilyas alayhi salam, he was sent to them and he had debates with the priests of this god, and part of the summarized debate is mentioned in the Holy Quran. So after all of this, even later on the Romans even left worship of this and they started to purge and persecute those who would worship this particular god due to the immoral practices, even according to their own standards. So this deserves some mercy, all of that Ilyas alayhi salam bore. Just a couple of things. Ilyas alayhi salam, there is a shrine not very distant, not very far from the city of Baalbek in Lebanon that is revered very much even by the Christians. The town is called the Nabi Ayla, and the Christians, the locals, they call the person who is buried over there a Nabi Ayla, Nabi Ilyas alayhi salam. And they venerate it, they give nadhr and they have vows over there. They walk bare feet up to the top of the hill. And I visited it. It's a really, really spiritual place. There is a lot of followers of Ahlul Bayt that live over there, and especially Sadat. Now, when we talk about the story of Yunus, how does it start? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts by mentioning the tark al-awla that Yunus alayhi salam did. إِذْ أَبَقَ إِلَى الْفُلْكِ الْمَشْحُونِ. He fled. Al-abiq, al-abd al-abiq, that is to say a slave. Al-abiq is a slave who runs away from his master. So Yunus salamullahi alayhi, he was servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who ran away, or he left before the command of Allah for him to leave. Now, it was better for him not to do so, and as a result, we all know the story, what happened to him. Now, I ask you this question, and even if you look at the word that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses, that when he was فَالْتَقَمَهُ الْحُوتُ وَهُوَ مُلِيمٌ, and the whale, it ate him in a mouthful as he was blameworthy. Mulim, it is a really, really delicate word in the language of Arabic. Mulim means someone who does something that deserves blame, but he has not been blamed yet. Mulam is someone who is blamed now. So Mulim is someone who does the cause that deserves a blame. فَنَبَذْنَاهُ فِي الْيَمِّ وَهُوَ مُلِيمٌ Fir'aun. And we cast him to the lake and to the sea as he was blameworthy. Fir'aun. So this does not deserve that salam. I mean, this tark al-awla, the context. So what about Lut alayhi salam? He did not leave any awla. Lut alayhi salam, his story is different. Imagine this salam, this remembrance of salam, of what a good person he was, it needs a qawm. And this is the answer that you referred to. Lut alayhi salam, the people who he was sent to, none of them believed in him except his two daughters. Except his two daughters. Nobody believed in him. As a result, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent that adhab on them. Correct? Upon this, what happened? No one remained to preserve that memory of Lut alayhi salam from those people. So it is not suitable for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say, Salamun ala Lut. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. There was no akhirin, there was nobody to succeed. However, they are both encompassed in the verse 181 of the surah. Salamun ala al-mursaleen. And peace be upon the messengers, all of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. That do they not ponder over the Quran, or do the hearts have locks over them? Are they locked? How do we sometimes, we as youth, maybe as a community, maybe some different members of the community, youngsters, elderly, sometimes women, how do we deal with the Holy Quran? I'll tell you, me as a Maulana and me as a Talib Alim, what do I receive normally? Assalamu alaikum Maulana, can I have an istikhara? Secondly, Maulana, I have a stomachache or I have a toothache. Can you recite something for me? Fulan is passed away. Let us recite some Quran for him. Okay. There's no problem in that, of course. But this is one part of dealing with the Holy Quran, the ta'abbudi, the worship related, reciting. But the main core of the Holy Quran is to read it and to ponder over it. With this regard, look at this. The Holy Quran is the source of ahkam. It's the source of all laws. Some ulama, they say that the Holy Quran exists, there are not only a few hundred verses of ahkam in it. All of the Quran in its general understanding is for ahkam. Secondly, it talks about so many different issues, and sometimes with the most meticulous hint that the people who are specialized in that, they would understand it, and they would understand and they will be able to present an entire thesis based on maybe one word. It talks about the fitra, the natural disposition, so many akhlaqi issues, social issues, political issues, science, a'jaz, that is to say, the miraculous nature of creation, of the Holy Quran itself, of the Holy Prophet, stories of those people who came before, etc., etc. But pondering over the Holy Quran and its different meanings, it leads for one's heart being enlightened. On the other hand, the Holy Quran, it has also guided people to reach such high lengths and to truly become civilizations. In Iran today, you have so many universities that study so many different aspects of the Holy Quran, either hifz, tafsir, etc., etc. For instance, Sheikh Jawadi Amuli, he's currently writing a tafsir Badani or tafsir al-Tasneem. He's approximately in the 30s, maybe volume number 37 of 80 volumes that he wants to write. And he has classes weekly. Imagine a tafsir of this depth, it has not been written before. Al-Alama al-Tabatabai tafsir was 20 volumes, tafsir al-Mizan. But the Holy Quran, all of the meanings, all of them, they come with this contemplating. One of the ulama who is very well known for contemplating on the smallest of details of the different verses of the Holy Quran is Sheikh Muslim Qaraati. He has a tafsir by the name of Tafsir al-Nur. And he was a contemporary, he was a colleague of Sheikh Nasir Makarim al-Shirazi, one of the Marajas right now, who has Tafsir al-Amthal. So they used to do mubahatha together, to discuss together. All right. So this alim, Sheikh Nasir Makarim al-Shirazi, he wrote two tafsir, Tafsir al-Amthal and Tafsir Nafahat al-Quran. One is a thematic exegesis, taking different topics of the Holy Quran and looking at all the different verses that talk about that topic and giving a general understanding. And the other is a tartibi, a sequential. Sheikh Muhsin Qaraati says that when I first wrote Tafsir al-Nur, when I look at the verse of وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, I understood 20 different hints and meanings from this verse. But today I understood 40. 40 meanings, 40 subtle details. But what does it mean to do tadabbur? What is tadabbur? This word is mentioned so much, and sometimes it becomes too oratory. And it's just, we don't know the scientific context of it. At-tadabbur, let us look at language, etymologically. At-tadbir, tadbiru shay, it means to look at the end result of something, or to think about something. Tadbir al-abd an dubur. That means for a person, during that time, to free a slave after the master's death. Fulan dabbara abdahu. That means to say, Fulan agrees to free his slave after his own death. Etymologically or terminologically, the tadabbur that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about is to think about the end result, is to think about the different meanings in the wordings and the ayat of the Holy Quran and the reason for their revelation and what these wordings are looking to present in terms of meaning. The end meaning, the general meaning, the end result. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want? Okay? What is the methodology now of doing tadabbur? That me and you sitting in the UK, sitting in Leicester, Imam Husayn alayhi salam Masjid, when we have our own lives in the UK, maybe we don't even understand Arabic as much. The methodology for doing tadabbur of the Holy Quran is by following 6 steps. Number 1, to look at the meaning of a word. So you come and you find one verse of the Holy Quran that you are very interested with. So you take one of the words that you want to ponder over. Take that word. Look at its meaning. Secondly, look at why it has been chosen. This is also related to the different shades of meaning. Different shades of meaning means those words and those meanings that are related to each other but that have a subtle difference. A small example. Akhdar in the Arabic language, or khadra, means something that is green. Okay? However, with regards to the two Jannah, that's how mentioned in Surah Al-Rahman. وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ مُدْهَامَّتَانِ. Al-mudhammatan are green, but they are so green and so vibrant and so they are filled with so much nutrients that if you look at them, and they are so dense, the trees and the vegetation and the plant life, that if you look at it from above, that green looks black. It is that vibrant. So this is an instance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looking and using a word that has a particular shade of meaning, and not only using green as in general. So why has it been chosen? Thirdly, I look at the position of the word in that verse. Is it mentioned in the beginning, in the end, in the middle? How could the meaning change if it were to be mentioned in another position? 4, I would look at the outer appearance of the word itself. Is it mentioned in an active voice or a passive voice? Is it mentioned in singular, plural, definite, indefinite? masculine, feminine, etc. 5. I look at the context of the meaning and how the verse, first of all, how does this verse move in terms of meaning and goals? What does it want to tell me? How does it move from the first words till the end? How is the sequence of movement? And I also look at the verses that come before it. How are they connected? How is this context related and connected to this verse? And how does it give me the meaning? And finally, then I categorize the verse. So, for example, if I'm talking about al-maghfirah, I put it along the ayat of al-maghfirah. Those that have a word that has this root in it, ghafara. And I put them all together and I try to get a meaning. Now, there is a further 7 step, but I won't go into details of that. But this is a new type of tafsir that Sheikh Nasir Makaram al-Shirazi has proposed. That he theorizes. It is called التفسير الارتباطي. Okay? Tafsir al-irtibati, it means the connecting tafsir. How is maghfirah, for example, related to al-istighfar? Two different concepts. Or how is al-amal al-salih related to salat? We look at all of the verses and we try to find this connection, that how do these verses come together? So 6 steps, and that's how I will end with, and I will ask the mu'mineen to check a word, a root word. So first of all, we have to look at the meaning of a word. Secondly, why has it been mentioned? Why has it been chosen, this particular word? Thirdly, the position of the word in the sentence, in the verse. Fourthly, the outer appearance. Fifthly, the context. And sixthly, categorization. For tomorrow, I would request the mu'mineen to look at one word which is mentioned in the Holy Quran a lot. It comes from the root word hasana. The root word is hasana. Look at the different words that are mentioned from this root word. Okay? And whatever word you choose, I request that you just look at the meaning of that word in the Holy Quran. Some of the words that are mentioned from this is Hasan, Hasanat, Muhsin, Muhsinin, Muhsinat, Ihsan, Husn, Husnu Ma'ab, Hasanatun, Ahsana, Husna, Hasunat. Kindly choose any of these words. Go to tanzil.net. Choose one of the verses that are from this root word and just look at the meaning of this particular word. Choose one word kindly. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على محمد وعلى محمد.